For many years, humans had always looked up at the stars with curiosity and wonder. From the earliest days of astronomy, people had wondered if there was anyone else out there. As technology advanced, this curiosity turned into action. Earth had developed powerful telescopes, satellites, and communication systems that could reach far beyond the solar system. Scientists and leaders realized that humanity was no longer isolated. The galaxy was vast, filled with other civilizations, some peaceful, some potentially hostile. They understood that to survive and thrive, Earth had to make its presence known, but in the right way. Humanity could not simply remain silent. They needed to send clear messages that would show that they were intelligent, rational, and willing to cooperate. The first messages were carefully crafted. Scientists, diplomats, and communication experts worked together to create signals that would travel light years across space. These signals were not random. They contained information about Earth, human culture, science, and technology. They also included warnings. Humanity was capable, observant, and would defend itself if threatened. These signals were repeated, sent at different frequencies, and encoded in ways that any intelligent species could understand. The people of Earth hoped that other civilizations would see these messages as a sign of goodwill, but also understand that humanity was not to be underestimated. They wanted to avoid conflict, but they would not shy away from it if necessary. Despite the care and effort put into these messages, the galactic councils, the governing bodies of the known civilizations, ignored them. At first, there was mild curiosity. A few civilizations detected Earth signals and scanned them briefly, but they dismissed the planet as insignificant. Many of these civilizations were far older, more technologically advanced, and had dealt with many species across the galaxy. They saw Earth as a tiny young planet, still in its technological adolescence. In their eyes, the humans were just another primitive species, not yet ready to enter galactic politics or participate in interstellar diplomacy. Some even found the warnings amusing, thinking that the humans were naive and overly confident. Earth's leaders were frustrated but persistent. They continued to send signals, hoping that one day their messages would be taken seriously. They tried to reach out to civilizations individually, sending probes and communication devices to different star systems. Each message carefully explained Earth's position. Humans did not want war, but they expected respect. They reminded other civilizations that humanity was intelligent, resourceful, and capable of defending itself. The scientists behind these messages included mathematical formulas, physical constants, and patterns that would make the signals understandable to anyone capable of receiving them. They wanted to show that humans were rational, scientific, and capable of logical thought. Even with these repeated attempts, the galaxy continued to underestimate humanity. Some civilizations intercepted the signals but simply ignored them. Others dismissed the content, labeling it as noise or propaganda. Humans on Earth began to realize a pattern. Intelligence alone was not enough to command attention. Respect had to be earned, and diplomacy had to be backed by action. Still, humanity did not want to appear aggressive or threatening. They wanted to be seen as capable of reasoning, as a civilization that could offer friendship and cooperation. This created tension among Earth's leaders, scientists, and strategists. They knew that time was not unlimited. The longer the galaxy ignored their warnings, the greater the risk of being caught unprepared in the future. As these years passed, Earth's people began to notice signs that other civilizations were watching more closely than they pretended. There were strange movements in nearby star systems, anomalies in communication networks, and occasional unexplainable interruptions in satellite data. While these signs did not indicate immediate danger, they confirmed one fact. Humans were now part of a wider galactic community, whether they were ready or not. This realization added urgency to Earth's diplomatic efforts. Scientists, engineers, and political leaders worked tirelessly, coordinating across nations to ensure that humanity spoke with one voice. The idea was simple. If Earth was to be taken seriously, it had to appear united, smart, and capable of defending itself if diplomacy failed. This period also marked a turning point in human culture and mindset. The idea of being alone in the universe was replaced with the knowledge that Earth was just one small planet in a galaxy full of unknown civilizations. Humanity began to change its priorities. Education, science, and technology were emphasized more than ever. People understood that survival might depend on their ability to innovate, communicate, and, if necessary, act decisively. Philosophers, historians, and leaders debated the meaning of humanity's place in the galaxy. They asked themselves what it meant to be human in a universe that was vast, unpredictable, and potentially dangerous. These discussions were not just theoretical. They shaped policy, funding, and the development of new technologies. Despite the challenges and dismissals, humans continued their diplomatic efforts with patience and careful planning. They sent messages of peace, of intelligence, and of warning. These messages were sent in multiple formats: radio waves, encoded light signals, probes carrying information, and even physical artifacts designed to survive long journeys through space. Each message was crafted to show humans as thoughtful, capable, and responsible. They wanted other civilizations to understand that Earth was not a world to exploit or ignore. Every signal contained subtle warnings. Humans could be peaceful, but they could also be formidable when provoked. Meanwhile, Earth's scientists worked on ways to monitor the galaxy. They developed systems that could detect alien fleets, communication networks, and potential threats. This technology was not just defensive. It was also part of humanity's attempt to gather intelligence, to understand who was out there, and how they might respond to Earth's presence. Humans studied patterns of behavior, communication signals, and even attempts at manipulation or interference. They learned quickly that the galaxy was complex, filled with alliances, rivalries, and hidden agendas. Understanding these dynamics was critical. If Earth wanted to survive and maintain its freedom, humans had to think ahead, predict outcomes, and prepare for all possibilities. One of the most important lessons of this time was that diplomacy required more than words. Sending messages alone was not enough. Humans had to demonstrate that they were serious. The galaxy might dismiss a single warning, but repeated warnings combined with intelligence and observation could gradually force others to pay attention. Earth's leaders also realized that their credibility depended on transparency. They shared information about technology, culture, and intentions with other civilizations in ways that could be verified. They wanted to avoid misunderstandings, which were often the root cause of conflict. This approach reflected humanity's belief that reason, evidence, and openness could bridge the gap between worlds. In parallel with these diplomatic efforts, humans also began to prepare for the possibility that words alone might fail. Military strategists quietly developed plans for defense, ensuring that Earth could protect itself if the galaxy decided to act aggressively. These plans were not about conquest or domination. They were about survival. Humanity had learned that being ignored by powerful civilizations was dangerous. The longer the galaxy underestimated humans, the greater the risk that Earth could be attacked without warning. Still, these preparations were conducted discreetly. Earth did not want to appear threatening while its messages of peace were still being sent. The balance between warning and preparation became one of the central challenges of this era. As decades passed, Earth's persistence began to have subtle effects. Some civilizations, particularly those on the outskirts of the galaxy, began to pay attention to the signals. They studied the messages, shared them with others, and debated their meaning. A few even reached out indirectly, testing humanity's response. These small acknowledgments gave Earth's leaders hope that diplomacy could work, even if slowly. Humanity's message was clear. They sought peace, but they would not be passive in the face of danger. This delicate combination of patience, intelligence, and quiet preparedness defined the first phase of humanity's entry into galactic diplomacy. In the end, part one of this story is a tale of patience, persistence, and careful planning. Humans looked at the galaxy with curiosity, courage, and wisdom. They sent warnings not out of fear, but out of responsibility. They hoped for cooperation, but they also prepared for the possibility that their words might be ignored. The efforts of Earth's scientists, leaders, and citizens created a foundation for the future, a foundation built on knowledge, foresight, and the unshakable belief that humanity deserved to be heard and respected in the galaxy. Even in the face of dismissal and skepticism, Earth continued to send its warnings, demonstrating a rare combination of intelligence, patience, and resolve. Humanity's story had only begun, but the first step, sending the warning, was the most important step of all. After years of sending warnings and messages into the galaxy, humanity began to see that words alone were not enough. The signals Earth sent, filled with information about human intelligence, culture, and technological progress, were largely ignored by the major galactic powers. Some civilizations dismissed them entirely, treating Earth as a small, unimportant planet that posed no threat. Others intercepted the messages but paid little attention, assuming that the humans were still young, inexperienced, and incapable of making a real impact. It was frustrating for Earth's leaders, scientists, and diplomats who knew that ignoring humanity could be a dangerous mistake. Yet the messages continued to travel, broadcasted with care, containing both peace and subtle warnings. Humans hoped for recognition, but increasingly, the galaxy's response, or lack thereof, revealed a growing problem. Diplomacy alone was not enough to ensure safety. Meanwhile, intelligence agencies on Earth monitored the stars for signs of alien activity. Reports began to arrive of unusual movements in nearby star systems. Small fleets were spotted on trajectories that could indicate scouting missions. Strange anomalies appeared in communications networks, sometimes disrupting Earth satellites or causing mysterious energy readings in space. These events were subtle at first, almost easy to dismiss, but over time, patterns began to emerge. The galaxy was not indifferent. It was testing Earth. Some civilizations were curious, others cautious, and some seemed openly hostile. Every day, human scientists and military analysts worked to interpret these signs, seeking to understand whether they represented mere exploration, intelligence gathering, or preparation for conflict. It became increasingly clear that some species in the galaxy saw Earth not as a partner, but as an opportunity. Humans were technologically developing at an unprecedented pace, and there were civilizations that might benefit from exploiting Earth's resources, strategic location, or technological innovations. For these species, ignoring Earth was no longer an option. They needed to observe, manipulate, or even preemptively strike if necessary. Earth's warnings had not been taken seriously, and the consequences of being underestimated were becoming apparent. This knowledge weighed heavily on the minds of Earth's leaders. They understood that they were being tested, and that patience would only take them so far. On Earth, governments and global organizations responded in multiple ways. Scientists continued to refine communication technologies, ensuring that Earth's messages were clear, precise, and impossible to misinterpret. Diplomatic teams worked tirelessly, crafting messages that conveyed intelligence, reason, and resolve. These messages stressed that humanity sought peaceful coexistence, but would not tolerate aggression or exploitation. They included detailed information about Earth's capabilities, its history of innovation, and the potential consequences of underestimating humans. Every effort was made to prevent misunderstanding, because history on Earth had taught humans that miscommunication could lead to conflict. At the same time, military strategists quietly prepared for contingencies. They developed advanced defense systems, spacecraft capable of rapid response, and strategies for both defensive and preemptive action. The goal was not conquest or domination, but survival. Humans recognized that if diplomacy failed, they needed to be ready to defend themselves, their planet, and their allies. Advanced simulations were conducted, predicting possible alien attack scenarios and testing human responses. Earth scientists worked on new energy weapons, shields, and artificial intelligence systems designed to enhance tactical decision-making. All of these preparations were conducted discreetly, as humans did not want to appear threatening while still offering peace. The balance between caution and readiness became the defining characteristic of this period in Earth's history. Despite these precautions, provocations from alien civilizations began to increase. Minor incursions into Earth's nearby star systems were reported, often with no explanation. Cyber infiltrations affected communication satellites, and there were even cases where alien fleets attempted to bypass monitoring stations undetected. These provocations were never full-scale attacks, but they were clear signals. The galaxy was testing Earth's patience, probing weaknesses, and observing reactions. These small but deliberate acts made it increasingly clear that humanity's warnings were not being taken seriously. Earth was being treated as an object of curiosity or experimentation, rather than a civilization deserving respect. Humanity's response to these provocations was measured and careful. Leaders insisted on restraint, emphasizing that retaliatory action could escalate into war. Scientists and diplomats worked together to analyze the motives behind these incidents, seeking peaceful resolutions wherever possible. Every attempt was made to respond rationally, to show that Earth was intelligent, capable, and restrained. Even as the galaxy tested them, humans maintained a posture of patience and strategy. They understood that overreacting could trigger a conflict that no one wanted, but underreacting could signal weakness. Striking the right balance became both a challenge and a defining feature of human diplomacy during this time. In parallel, humans focused on strengthening alliances with other civilizations that were either neutral or mildly friendly. Messages of cooperation, trade, and shared scientific knowledge were sent to planets willing to engage with Earth on equal terms. By building these relationships, humanity hoped to create a network of support in case a hostile force acted against them. These alliances also served as proof to the rest of the galaxy that Earth was not an isolated, defenseless planet. Humans were not simply sending warnings into empty space. They were building a reputation as a rational, organized, and capable civilization. Cultural and social shifts on Earth mirrored these developments. Humanity's awareness of the wider galaxy had changed people's perspective on life, education, and progress. Science, technology, and education were prioritized more than ever before. Philosophers and thinkers debated what it meant to exist in a galaxy full of intelligent life, and what responsibilities came with being a young but rapidly advancing civilization. Children grew up learning not only about Earth's history, but also about the stars and the potential for contact with other worlds. Humanity's collective mindset evolved to understand that survival and respect depended on a combination of intelligence, diplomacy, and readiness. Despite the growing signs of danger, humans continued their efforts to engage diplomatically. Messages became more sophisticated, incorporating mathematical proofs, scientific discoveries, and evidence of humanity's ability to reason and strategize. Humans were determined to show that aggression was not their first choice, but that they were capable of defending themselves if necessary. Each message was carefully monitored for responses, and the analysis of alien communications became a full-time effort for Earth's top scientists. They looked for patterns, signals of intent, and clues about which civilizations might pose the greatest threat. Knowledge was power, and humans understood that in a galaxy where they were underestimated, intelligence could save lives. Humanity also began to understand the psychology of the galaxy. Leaders realized that civilizations that dismissed warnings often did so out of arrogance or overconfidence. They assumed that young species like humans could not possibly pose a challenge. Earth's messages were sometimes mocked, ignored, or ridiculed. But humans learned that persistence mattered. Repeated, consistent, and precise communication could slowly alter perception. By continuously demonstrating intelligence, rationality, and patience, humans could begin to earn the respect of even skeptical observers. The galaxy was vast, and perception could determine whether a civilization was taken seriously or treated as insignificant. Through all this, the people of Earth were united by a growing sense of purpose. They recognized that the stakes were high, and that the galaxy was not a safe or predictable place. Yet they did not give in to fear. Instead, they channeled their curiosity, intelligence, and creativity into meaningful action. Scientists worked around the clock, engineers designed new technologies, and diplomats crafted messages with meticulous care. Humanity's ability to combine knowledge, patience, and foresight became a defining feature of their civilization. Even as provocations increased and warnings were ignored, humans maintained focus, understanding that measured and intelligent action could ultimately protect them and secure their place in the galaxy. Part of this preparation involved understanding the motives and behaviors of potential adversaries. Human analysts studied alien communication methods, fleet movements, and social structures. They observed patterns that revealed aggression, competition, and hierarchy. Some civilizations were expansionist, seeking to dominate new worlds. Others were cautious, seeking allies to strengthen their position. By mapping these behaviors, Earth could anticipate potential threats and prepare appropriate responses. Intelligence gathering became as critical as diplomacy, because humans understood that knowledge was the key to survival. As provocations continued, humans also emphasized innovation. New technologies in surveillance, defense, and communication were developed at unprecedented speed. Advanced spacecraft equipped with stealth capabilities, sensors, and defensive systems were designed for rapid response. Artificial intelligence assisted in strategic planning, predicting alien movements and calculating outcomes with precision. Humans were not preparing for mindless war. They were preparing for a world in which they would no longer be ignored, where diplomacy alone might fail, and where strategic action could be necessary to protect Earth and its allies. Despite the tension, humanity never lost sight of its ultimate goal: peaceful coexistence. Every measure taken was meant to strengthen Earth's position without provoking unnecessary conflict. Humans understood that aggression could escalate into full-scale war, but they also recognized that inaction could invite danger. This delicate balance of patience, intelligence, and preparedness defined humanity's approach during this period. Earth's leaders, scientists, and citizens worked together, demonstrating unity, foresight, and a willingness to act decisively if the galaxy continued to underestimate them. In conclusion, Part 2 shows humanity at a turning point. Diplomacy had its limits, and provocations from other civilizations were increasing. Humans responded with patience, intelligence, and strategic preparation, carefully balancing the desire for peace with the need to be ready for conflict. They monitored the galaxy, built alliances, studied alien behavior, and developed advanced technologies, all while continuing to send warnings of both peace and strength. Humanity had learned that being underestimated was dangerous, and that survival required not just words but action, knowledge, and preparation. The stage was being set for a new phase in Earth's journey, a time when diplomacy might fail, and when humanity would have to show the galaxy that it was capable of defending itself in ways that could not be ignored. For years, humanity had warned the galaxy of its presence, its capabilities, and its willingness to defend itself. Earth's leaders had sent careful, reasoned messages, hoping to avoid conflict and ensure the safety of their planet. They had monitored the stars for signs of alien activity, studied the behavior of nearby civilizations, and quietly prepared defensive strategies. Yet despite all these efforts, the galaxy had largely ignored them. Many civilizations dismissed Earth as insignificant. Some mocked their warnings, and a few even took subtle steps to test humanity's patience. Humans understood that they were underestimated, but they still hoped that diplomacy and reason could prevent a larger conflict. That hope began to fade when the provocations escalated. At first, there were small incursions near Earth's neighboring star systems, minor cyber infiltrations, and unusual fleet movements that could easily be explained away. However, over time, the incidents became bolder, more deliberate, and unmistakably aggressive. Intelligence reports indicated that a powerful alien fleet had moved into a neighboring system and launched an unprovoked strike against an ally of Earth. This was not an accidental collision or a misunderstanding. The attack was calculated, precise, and clearly meant to test Earth's reaction. The aliens targeted military installations, communication hubs, and supply stations, showing a sophisticated understanding of their objectives. The scale of the strike sent a clear message. The galaxy had grown impatient with Earth's warnings and intended to challenge its resolve. News of the attack spread rapidly across Earth. Citizens, governments, and military organizations were shocked. The images captured by observation satellites showed destruction on an unprecedented scale, with entire fleets damaged and critical infrastructure in ruins. Analysts confirmed that the attack was unprovoked. Humanity's ally had not engaged in any hostilities and had made no aggressive moves. The realization that Earth could be next ignited a mixture of fear, anger, and determination. For the first time in human history, the possibility of direct conflict with an alien civilization felt imminent and unavoidable. The world watched as leaders convened emergency meetings debating the appropriate response. During these tense discussions, humanity faced a difficult choice. For decades, diplomacy had been the preferred approach. Sending messages of peace, demonstrating intelligence, and offering cooperation had been humanity's strategy. Yet the alien attack made it painfully clear that words alone would not protect Earth. Diplomacy had failed in its ultimate test. The attack showed that some civilizations were willing to use force to achieve their objectives, even against a species that had sought to avoid conflict at every opportunity. For many on Earth, this was a turning point. It became obvious that preparation for defense was no longer sufficient. Action would be necessary to ensure survival. Human strategists began to assess the full scope of humanity's capabilities. Over decades, humans had quietly developed advanced spacecraft, energy weapons, artificial intelligence systems, and fleet coordination technology. These tools had been designed primarily for defense to deter aggression and protect the planet. However, with the escalation of threats, military and scientific leaders realized that Earth now had the opportunity and the necessity to use these capabilities offensively if required. The question was no longer whether humanity could defend itself, but whether it could deliver a decisive response that would secure its safety and send a clear message to the galaxy. The decision was not made lightly. Earth's leaders, military commanders, and diplomats debated the consequences of retaliation. Could a strike provoke a full-scale war? Would other civilizations join the aggressors, perceiving humanity as a threat? Could humans limit collateral damage while demonstrating their strength? These questions weighed heavily on every decision-maker. Unlike in fictional stories, there was no certainty of victory, and every move carried immense risk. However, the global consensus eventually emerged. Humanity could not remain passive any longer. To survive and protect its allies, Earth had to act decisively and show the galaxy that diplomacy must be met with respect. The preparation for action involved meticulous planning. Scientists and engineers analyzed alien technology, fleet movements, and likely tactical strategies. Every simulation considered multiple scenarios, from counterattacks to ambushes, from defensive maneuvers to surgical strikes against key targets. The goal was to maximize effectiveness while minimizing unnecessary destruction. Humans had learned that the galaxy did not respond to weakness. It responded to capability and strategic intelligence. Every weapon, ship, and AI system was coordinated to ensure that humanity could deliver a decisive and well-targeted strike. The level of preparation reflected humanity's meticulous approach, careful, calculated, and never reckless. While technical preparations were underway, global leaders communicated with citizens to prepare them for what might come. People around the world realized that Earth's peaceful approach had limits, and that humanity might soon engage in a confrontation with a species far more experienced in interstellar conflict. This awareness did not create panic. Rather, it unified people. Across continents, humans began to understand the gravity of their situation, and a sense of shared purpose emerged. Communities rallied around the idea that survival depended on intelligence, cooperation, and resilience. For the first time, the notion of a united human civilization facing a galactic threat became a tangible reality rather than a distant concept. As the plans took shape, humanity also considered the ethical dimension of its actions. Unlike the alien aggressors, humans valued the lives of both civilians and combatants. The response had to demonstrate strength without unnecessary cruelty. Strategic targets were carefully chosen to neutralize the threat while minimizing loss of life. This approach reinforced the message that humans were rational and moral actors, capable of decisive action, but not driven by mindless aggression. Humanity wanted to show that it could defend itself while remaining ethical, intelligent, and worthy of respect in the galaxy. The moment of decision finally arrived when all preparations were complete. Earth's leaders authorized a controlled, precise, and strategic offensive designed to neutralize the alien threat and demonstrate humanity's capabilities. This was humanity's first real test in a galactic conflict. Unlike diplomacy, which relied on words and signals, this strike would rely on planning, skill, and execution. It would be humanity's way of telling the galaxy, "We have warned you. We have been patient. Now we will act if you continue to ignore us." The decision was made not in anger but in determination. The goal was survival, deterrence, and the establishment of Earth as a civilization that could not be dismissed. As the human fleet moved into position, Earth watched with a mixture of tension and anticipation. Every system, every AI, every ship had a specific role to play. The humans' understanding of alien behavior, combined with their own technological innovation, gave them an edge that few in the galaxy expected. For decades, the aliens had assumed that Earth would remain passive, that diplomacy alone would suffice. They had underestimated humanity's patience, intelligence, and strategic capacity. Now they were about to learn a critical lesson. Underestimating humans was a mistake. In the final hours before action, humanity reflected on its journey. From sending the first warnings to preparing fleets and advanced weapons, Every step had been deliberate, calculated, and guided by the goal of survival. Humans understood the stakes. Failure could mean the destruction of their planet or the subjugation of their civilization. Yet through all the uncertainty and risk, they had maintained focus, unity, and resolve. The galaxy might have ignored their warnings, but humanity would not be ignored any longer. The decision to act was both a necessity and a declaration. Diplomacy had failed, and now the responsibility of self-preservation demanded decisive action. Humanity had reached a moment unlike any in its history. After years of warnings, careful diplomacy, and patient observation, it had become clear that words alone were not enough to ensure safety. The unprovoked attack on an allied civilization marked a turning point, a moment when Earth's leaders, scientists, and strategists understood that action was necessary. Humanity was no longer a passive observer in the galaxy. It had the technology, intelligence, and preparation to respond decisively. What followed was the first true demonstration of human ingenuity and resolve in a galactic conflict, an event that would forever change the perception of Earth across the stars. The human fleet was a marvel of engineering and strategy. Over decades, Earth had quietly developed spacecraft equipped with advanced propulsion systems, energy weapons, stealth capabilities, and artificial intelligence for tactical coordination. Each ship was designed not only for defense but for precision offensive maneuvers. The fleet was arranged in a complex formation, with specialized units assigned to specific objectives, some to disable enemy command structures, others to neutralize weapon systems, and others still to create diversions or block escape routes. Every movement was planned, simulated, and rehearsed countless times. The humans' understanding of alien tactics, gathered from years of monitoring and analysis, allowed them to anticipate likely counterattacks and adapt in real time. The operation was not merely a display of firepower. It was a demonstration of human creativity and ingenuity. Humans had studied alien technology extensively, learning its strengths and weaknesses. They designed strategies that turned the enemy's systems against them. For example, communication networks used by the alien fleet were subtly disrupted to create confusion among their ranks. Drones, guided by advanced AI, infiltrated enemy ships and disabled critical systems without unnecessary destruction. This approach reflected a uniquely human combination of intelligence, ethics, and tactical innovation. The goal was clear: to deliver a decisive message while avoiding indiscriminate destruction. As the fleet moved into position, Earth's leaders coordinated the strike with precision. Real-time communication between command centers on Earth and ships across space allowed for rapid adjustments. Humans relied on a combination of advanced prediction algorithms and intuition, honed through years of training. The strike was timed to perfection, exploiting the enemy's movements and vulnerabilities. Within moments, the human fleet had achieved strategic positions that gave them control over the battlefield. Alien ships, expecting a passive target, were caught off guard by the sophistication and coordination of Earth's forces. The first encounters were decisive. Human weapons designed for accuracy and efficiency disabled key alien ships with minimal collateral damage. Advanced shielding technology protected human vessels while allowing them to exploit weaknesses in enemy defenses. AI systems coordinated attacks across the fleet, adapting instantly to changes in the battle. The aliens, despite their experience and technological advantage, found themselves struggling against an opponent who combined strategy, adaptability, and creativity in ways they had not anticipated. Human ingenuity, patience, and preparation had turned the tide before the fight had fully escalated. One of the most remarkable aspects of the strike was its ethical precision. Humanity had the ability to cause widespread destruction, but chose instead to focus on neutralizing threats strategically. Civilian populations on alien planets and ships were largely unharmed. Humans understood that demonstrating strength did not require cruelty, and that ethical action reinforced their credibility. By showing restraint while executing a decisive strike, humans sent a message that Earth was rational, capable, and morally guided. This approach contrasted sharply with the behavior of many galactic powers, which often relied on overwhelming force without regard for consequences. The impact of humanity's strike was immediate and far-reaching. Alien commanders, previously dismissive of Earth's warnings, now faced evidence that humans could not be underestimated. Entire fleets were incapacitated or disrupted, and critical command and communication nodes were rendered inoperable. The effectiveness of the operation forced the galaxy to reconsider its perception of Earth. What had once been seen as a minor, young civilization was now recognized as a formidable force, capable of innovation, strategy, and decisive action. The message was unmistakable. Humanity would defend itself and its allies, and diplomacy required respect. News of the strike spread rapidly across the galaxy. Observing civilizations monitored the conflict closely, re-evaluating their assumptions about humanity. Some were fearful, recognizing the technological and strategic capabilities humans had displayed. Others were impressed, acknowledging the intelligence, coordination, and ethical consideration that characterized the operation. For Earth, the strike was not merely about defeating a specific enemy. It was about establishing credibility, demonstrating capability, and sending a clear message that the galaxy could no longer ignore humanity. Despite the success, humans maintained discipline and control. Each step of the operation was carefully monitored to avoid escalation beyond what was necessary. Strategic goals were achieved without provoking unnecessary retaliation or widespread destruction. This careful management reinforced Earth's image as a responsible power, capable of action but not reckless aggression. Observers across the galaxy noted the contrast. Humans combined strength, intelligence, and ethical restraint in ways that were unusual, and even alarming to other civilizations. The aftermath of the strike led to immediate consequences for the aggressors. Alien fleets were forced to retreat, repair, and reevaluate their strategy. Communication among hostile forces was disrupted, and trust in their leadership was undermined. The human response demonstrated not only technological superiority in specific areas, but also the strategic foresight and coordination necessary to manage a conflict effectively. For the first time, Earth was no longer simply reacting. It had dictated the terms of engagement. This shift in control was a defining moment in humanity's relationship with the galaxy. Meanwhile, on Earth, the population watched with a mixture of awe and relief. Years of preparation, careful planning, and patient diplomacy had culminated in a successful operation. Citizens understood that the strike had been necessary, not aggressive, and that humanity had shown its capability without compromising ethical principles. The sense of unity across nations grew stronger, as people recognized that survival and security depended on collective intelligence, strategic planning, and moral guidance. Humanity's identity as a rational and capable civilization was solidified in the eyes of its own people and the galaxy. As the dust settled, Earth's leaders emphasized the lessons of the operation. The strike had demonstrated the effectiveness of preparation, intelligence, and ethical strategy. Humanity had learned that diplomacy alone was insufficient when faced with aggressive civilizations. Strength and capability were necessary to ensure that words were respected. At the same time, the ethical execution of the strike reinforced the value of measured, intelligent action. Humans had achieved a balance that few other civilizations had managed, the ability to act decisively while maintaining moral and strategic clarity. The strike also changed the perception of humanity's allies. Those who had previously doubted Earth's ability to contribute meaningfully to galactic security now saw humans as reliable and capable partners. Alliances strengthened, communication networks expanded, and cooperative projects in science, trade, and defense increased. Humans had proven that they were capable not only of defending themselves, but also of contributing meaningfully to interstellar stability. This recognition further reinforced Earth's position and influence within the galaxy. For the aliens who had provoked humanity, the message was clear and unavoidable. Earth would not be underestimated, ignored, or dismissed. The combination of patience, preparation, intelligence, and ethical execution had created a new reality. Any future aggression against humanity or its allies would carry significant risks. The galaxy, which had once treated Earth as insignificant, now had to recognize it as a force to be respected and considered in strategic decisions. The strike was a turning point, a demonstration that words alone were not enough and that humanity was prepared to act when necessary. In conclusion, humanity's first strike was more than a military operation. It was a carefully calculated demonstration of strategy, intelligence, and ethical action. By turning alien technology against its owners, executing a precise and measured attack, and avoiding unnecessary destruction, Humans established themselves as a formidable civilization. The strike sent an unmistakable message to the galaxy. Diplomacy must be met with respect. Patience has limits, and humanity is capable of defending itself decisively. This action marked the beginning of a new chapter in Earth's history, one in which the planet transitioned from a young, overlooked civilization to a recognized, respected, and feared power in the galaxy. Humanity had shown that it could act with intelligence, morality, and precision, forever changing the way other civilizations viewed them. After humanity's decisive strike, the galaxy began to change in ways that no one on Earth could have predicted. For centuries, humans had been sending warnings, hoping their peaceful messages would be taken seriously. Yet it had taken action, a precise, calculated, and ethical strike, to show the rest of the galaxy that Earth could not be underestimated. The immediate effect was clear. Alien fleets retreated, communication networks of hostile civilizations were disrupted, and leaders across the stars began to reconsider their assumptions about humanity. Earth's reputation shifted almost overnight, from an overlooked young planet to a civilization that demanded respect. This was the moment when humanity realized that its patience, intelligence, and preparation had paid off in a way that would shape its future in the galaxy. On Earth, the response to the success of the operation was one of cautious celebration. People understood the gravity of what had happened. Humans had demonstrated their capability without losing moral clarity. Leaders emphasized the importance of maintaining ethical standards even in moments of conflict. Humanity had proven that strength and intelligence could coexist with restraint and foresight. Citizens across the world watched as governments and scientific organizations shared information about the strike, explaining the technology, strategy, and careful planning that had made it successful. This transparency strengthened unity among humans, fostering a renewed sense of pride and purpose. The impact extended far beyond Earth. Across the galaxy, other civilizations began to reassess their approach to human contact. Some had previously viewed humans as naive, primitive, or inconsequential. The strike forced them to recognize that Earth's patience should not be mistaken for weakness, and that humans were capable of strategic, innovative, and ethical action when provoked. Diplomatic channels previously closed or ignored suddenly became more open. Formerly dismissive civilizations began initiating contact, attempting to understand humanity's capabilities and intentions. The galaxy had learned that humans could act decisively and intelligently, and that any future interaction required respect. Humanity's allies, too, were profoundly affected. The successful strike reinforced trust in Earth's ability to protect not only itself, but also its allies. Civilizations that had doubted Earth's strategic capacity now saw humans as reliable partners. Cooperative efforts in defense, trade, and scientific exploration intensified. Alliances were strengthened and new partnerships formed, all based on the understanding that Earth was no longer an insignificant player in galactic affairs. For the first time, humans were invited to participate in interstellar councils, strategic meetings, and collaborative projects. Their voice carried weight because it was backed by proven capability. The galaxy's perception of human intelligence also changed. For decades, humans had sent messages explaining their technology, culture, and reasoning ability. Many had dismissed these messages as noise, underestimating humanity's strategic thinking and innovation. The strike provided undeniable proof that humans were capable of not only advanced technology, but also sophisticated tactical planning. By turning alien technology against its owners, coordinating an unprecedented fleet operation, and executing an ethical and precise strike, humans demonstrated ingenuity that was rare, even among the galaxy's older civilizations. Their reputation as a clever, adaptable, and rational species was firmly established. Earth's leaders were quick to recognize that the strike was not an end point, but a foundation. Humanity now had credibility, influence, and a seat at the interstellar table, but it had to be used wisely. Diplomacy, which had been repeatedly ignored before, now carried weight because it was backed by proven strength. Earth began sending new messages to the galaxy, emphasizing cooperation, shared knowledge, and mutual respect. These messages were no longer simply warnings. They were invitations for collaboration, backed by the undeniable fact that humans could protect themselves and their allies if necessary. Diplomacy now worked because it was grounded in the reality of humanity's capabilities. The strike also prompted introspection on Earth. Humans reflected on their journey from being a young, underestimated civilization to becoming a recognized galactic power. Education, technology, and science had been essential, but so had patience, ethical reasoning, and strategic foresight. Leaders and citizens alike recognized that humanity's rise had been shaped not only by technological advancement, but by careful, deliberate preparation and the ability to act decisively when required. This understanding reinforced the importance of continuous innovation, ethical standards, and unity among humans. Lessons learned during the conflict became core principles for future generations. Meanwhile, former aggressors and skeptical civilizations had to reconsider their strategies. Alien commanders realized that any attempt to challenge or manipulate Earth in the future would be met with carefully calculated resistance. The ethical precision of humanity's strike demonstrated that humans could deliver maximum strategic impact while minimizing unnecessary destruction. This was a powerful message. Any miscalculation against Earth could result in defeat or significant loss, even for civilizations with far more experience in warfare. Humans had redefined the parameters of interstellar interaction, forcing the galaxy to treat Earth as a serious and rational actor. Humanity's position also influenced galactic culture. Scholars, scientists, and leaders across multiple civilizations studied Earth's strategy, technology, and ethical approach. Human success became a case study in combining intelligence, preparation, and morality. Philosophers debated the lessons of patience and strategic timing, while military leaders analyzed the technological innovations that had made the strike effective. Even civilizations that had remained neutral or distant took notice, recognizing that Earth's approach could redefine conflict, diplomacy, and cooperation in the galaxy. Humanity was no longer just a participant. It had become a model of rational action in a complex and often hostile universe. The aftermath also encouraged humans to further develop interstellar relationships. The credibility established by the strike made other civilizations willing to share information, resources, and technology. Humans engaged in exchanges that accelerated scientific and technological advancement on Earth. These collaborations reinforced the understanding that strength and diplomacy were not mutually exclusive. Together, they created stability and opportunity. Humanity began contributing to galactic projects, ranging from defense initiatives to scientific exploration, positioning Earth as a valuable partner rather than a target. Even as recognition spread, humanity remained vigilant. Leaders understood that the galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and filled with potential threats. The strike had changed perceptions, but it did not eliminate danger. Humans continued to advance their technology, improve fleet coordination, and enhance intelligence-gathering capabilities. The lesson was clear. Credibility had been earned, but survival required constant preparation and awareness. Earth's approach combined foresight, diplomacy, and readiness, ensuring that humanity could act decisively if required while maintaining its ethical and strategic integrity. Cultural shifts on Earth also reflected the impact of these events. Citizens embraced a sense of global unity, recognizing that humanity's survival and credibility were collective achievements. Education emphasized not only technology and science, but also ethics, strategy, and cooperation. People understood that the galaxy was not just a distant concept, but a reality that required intelligence, patience, and courage. These changes in mindset reinforced the ability of humans to respond collectively to challenges, ensuring that future decisions would continue to balance morality, strategy, and survival. The strike had broader consequences as well. Civilizations that had been indifferent or hostile now approached humans with caution, respect, or curiosity. Some initiated diplomatic contact, seeking alliances or partnerships. Others quietly re-evaluated their military strategies, acknowledging that Earth could not be easily intimidated or ignored. Across the galaxy, the balance of power had shifted subtly but significantly. Humans had earned recognition not only through their technology, but through their intelligence, ethical conduct, and strategic foresight. They had transformed from a young, underestimated species into a civilization that demanded serious consideration in all interstellar matters. Over time, Earth's approach became a model for combining strength with diplomacy. The strike demonstrated that capability must be paired with ethical reasoning and strategic intelligence. Other civilizations began to adopt similar approaches, recognizing the value of demonstrating competence while maintaining ethical standards. Humanity's actions had set a precedent. Strength alone was insufficient. It had to be wielded intelligently, strategically, and morally. This lesson resonated across the galaxy, influencing interstellar policy, diplomacy, and military strategy for generations. In the long term, humans understood that their journey was just beginning. Recognition in the galaxy brought new responsibilities. With influence came the need to act responsibly, protect allies, and maintain ethical standards while navigating complex interstellar relationships. Humans embraced this role with a sense of purpose, aware that their actions now had consequences beyond their planet. The successful strike was not simply a military achievement. It was the foundation for humanity's emergence as a respected, capable, and influential civilization in the galaxy. In conclusion, the aftermath of humanity's strike marked a turning point in galactic history. Earth had transformed from a young, overlooked planet into a recognized, respected, and feared civilization. Diplomacy, which had failed when backed only by words, now succeeded because it was supported by undeniable strength and strategic intelligence. Humans had demonstrated the ability to act decisively while maintaining ethical and moral standards, earning credibility across the galaxy. Alliances strengthened, recognition increased, and Earth's position in interstellar affairs was forever elevated. Humanity had proven that patience, preparation, intelligence, and ethical action could not only ensure survival, but also command respect in a universe filled with uncertainty and potential danger. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. When Earth speaks, it must be listened to, and when humanity acts, it acts with intelligence, precision, and purpose.